Good?
All right, yeah.
All right, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Back at it.
Back at it.
Man, this is a big one.
No, the big one. The first big one.
Man, how you feeling?
Feels like the longest January of all time.
I've been saying that. I've been saying that all month. I was thinking, man, and it's only January.
Yeah, still.
You know, but I've been calling it, and it's not necessarily a political statement, but this is demon time.
I guess I haven't heard it in that.
No, that's what it is. This is
yeah.
the end of Maury. This is when you find out that the baby's not yours. This is when you find out that the dude that raised you for 18 years isn't your real dad.
Kanye said that.
You know,
Yeah.
this is when, like, you know, you finally get her undressed and you see an Adam's apple. You know, you didn't know. You're like, yo, this is demon time, dude.
I mean, it's for all intents and purposes. That is where we are right now.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily something I want to celebrate, but there is, you know, a peace of mind to when things come out of the shadows. There's no more shadow.
There is. I completely agree.
You know, things are out of the darkness. This is what it is. The
Well,
demons are out.
I don't know. Out of the darkness to me sounds like the dark days are over.
No, okay, the dark days aren't over per se, but the demons are in the light.
Yeah.
You know, like there's very little that's subtle now. It's
Oh, man.
all blatant.
The art of subtlety is completely in every aspect of
Every
life.
aspect. Yeah.
From attire to politics to music, everything is just out in the open and flagrant.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
flagrant is just flagrant foul.
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of have to appreciate that because at least you know where you stand.
That's true.
And you know how to operate, you know how to maneuver, or you have a better idea how to do that. You know, and you kind of, it helps.
It does.
It helps. You know, it's kind of like, you know, it doesn't make it any easier per se, but it takes some of the guessing out of it. You know, I think for me with fashion, it's hard because I think that I always approach it it's a thing of beauty and it's a thing of honesty and purity. And I like things that aren't necessarily loud, you know, but when the shadows are removed, everything's just so loud and it's so blatant and it's just so like, you know, I mean, you remember growing up when you always had the one dude with the suit that had to leave like the tag on the suit so you knew what it was.
You gotta know what it is.
And now that's a selling point, you know, like now like the Gucci suits come like that. You're not supposed to remove it. You're supposed to stay there, you know, and that's just weird, man. So I don't know what you're supposed to do with that information, but I do feel like that information's blatant now. It's just in your face, you know, and it's
if you're not showing it off, it's almost like it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's honestly, I see the transformation in like social media. I remember my first MySpace account. I still have the profile picture somewhere. It was about like, yo, this is just kind of like who I am. This is my vibe. Like I got a song on my page. You kind of just have your friends on there. It wasn't as much a highlight reel.
Right.
It was meant to just be more raw and honest. Even early Instagram, for the most part, you just saw people you followed. So it wasn't like there was no explore page. There was no hashtagging. The hashtags were terrible back then, first of all. It was kind of, but the hashtags were silly. Like, it wasn't like hashtag for you page, hashtag
right.
black men in fashion, hashtag I make
They weren't functional, they were like inside jokes.
Yeah, and like
Right,
descriptors maybe. Like hashtag like school, hashtag
right.
It wasn't a flex. It was really just to relate. And so honestly you could see your friends not just when you know, we're in the same space as them. Yeah. And now it's just like supposed to be this kind of highlight reel that's over the top and overdone, and honestly there's a lot of catfishing going on these apps.
That's all it is.
Yeah, it's like you not just, and I don't just mean like aesthetically you don't look like that, but your life is not like that. Yeah. So what is this facade? What is this thing that you got going on for the internet?
Well, I mean, because I think about with MySpace, you know, and I think about MySpace at its core, your profiles were thoughtful. You have some photos, but you also had like a real about me, and you had some words attached to it, you know. And then I guess after MySpace was Twitter, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And Twitter broke it down to 140 characters, so you had to like really kind of make it concise. And then Instagram comes in, and it's like not even really about words. It's
not at all.
Some photos.
Yeah.
And
which I kind of like, and Tumblr's somewhere in there too.
Oh,
where Tumblr was, honestly, it was kind of like Pinterest. It
was a mood board.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, no, for sure, it was a mood board.
It's like a mood board, X emotions. Like,
yeah, this is my vibe.
Yeah,
you know, yeah, and it's interesting because you think about where Tumblr started, and then I know when I fell off, it just kind of basically, I feel like Tumblr was the intro to OnlyFans. It was. You know, because it was like, wait, what? Like, oh, like Tumblr got real porny out of nowhere. And I was like, okay, I'm done with Tumblr.
Honestly, Twitter too, but yeah, Tumblr definitely started to veer that direction.
Yeah. Well, I feel like with Twitter, you kind of like, I feel like you had to go out of your way for Twitter to find like the dark web of Twitter.
Yeah,
where,
the
like,
dark
Tumblr
side
just hits you. Like, I didn't know this isn't even part of my algorithm. Why?
Yeah.
You know.
I think their angle was like sensual or like
right.
It wasn't as like. You're right. Twitter's more demonic to be in theme of how you started it.
Yeah.
Where it's meant to be just kind of not dirty in the sense of, I don't know. Tumblr was kind of passing it off as like art or like high brand photography. Yeah. And it's really just some titties. But
that was it.
But yeah, that's I agree.
Yeah, you know, and that's interesting because you mentioned art, and we're in this weird space where we're trying to like repackage art, but it's really just commerce.
Man.
There's no art. It's just commerce. Yeah. You know. And in the feed, like, you know, a lot lately, what's up with these 2-minute songs, dude?
Attention spans, man.
That's crazy.
Attention spans. Like people, I don't want to say people. The average consumer doesn't pay attention to music the same way because they don't have to. Like for $10 a month, they get access to every song ever. So they don't actually care. They don't have to go out of their way. You're not waiting in line. You're not buying CDs. So the way you think about music, the average person, has changed so much. It's just like, oh yeah, whatever. Like they're not actually really locking in unless they absolutely adore that artist and they're willing to spend, you know, what's now $600, $1,000 to go see them. So it's just, if you're trying to get the average fan, a lot of songs, especially in hip hop, just microwave.
I mean, obviously hip hop had shorter songs always. You know, shorter albums, not counting, you know, but you had more songs. But I'm seeing pop music too. You know, everyone in contemporary music is giving you that 2:15, 2:30, 3 max. Like 3-minute song is like a magnum opus. Like I have a lot to say here. Like, and I don't like everything. Like 4 minutes was a short song growing up, you know. And then when you really like, I got a lot to say. You got that 7-minute, that 8-minute, like wow. But everything I was looking at stuff that dropped today. 2:15, 2:30.
They want the replay, and so it's like if the song you want it to be longer, but it's not, your only option is to play it again.
Yeah, but that's.
Now we're talking about 8 cents. Like now
But
you
would
getting
just
rich.
do that regardless. You know, there are a bunch of songs, and what's funny is you had the radio edit for me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But there is no real radio now, so you don't need a radio edit. A song could be 4 minutes, 5 minutes if you really had something to say. But I feel like now that it's kind of like a cop out.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have. I mean,
it's hard though because today's game is a volume game. And if you're an up-and-coming artist...
That's commerce.
Yeah, exactly. You have to flood the market, they say. And so, I mean, I guess hip-hop was always kind of like this in the sense of if you're up and coming, you got to drop mixtape after mixtape before you get to that album level,
right?
Where you have enough. You've proved that there's enough people who care about you that you can sell an album. So now a label wants to sign you and really blow it up. But just in terms of all music now, you got to keep releasing music to keep people's attention, and it's hard to drop 4 albums in a year and as an artist who's actually making good art, have something different to say for each song on every album. Like, people just running out of shit to say. I guess I'm gonna say the same thing again, just slightly different.
But you're right. You're gonna run out of something to say if you don't know how to feed your art form.
It's true.
If you're not living life, whatever that means, you're gonna run out of things to say. But if it's your art form, do you really run out of things to say?
But again, commerce, for some people, it's just a job. It's not about the art anymore.
Yeah, and it feels like that.
Yeah.
It feels, you listen to stuff, whether it's music, whether it's clothing, it looks like a 9 to 5.
It's packaged like one.
Yeah.
It feels like one. It looks like one. Yeah.
And that can't sustain life.
No. Absolutely.
And you feel it. Like, folks aren't jazzed.
But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know, being Vanilla Ice used to be an insult, for example. Now, so many people don't really care how or why. If they get even one viral moment, let alone a viral song, they're happy with it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, a lot of these people aren't looking for career trajectories. They want to get their art out. They want a chance to have a moment and feel like someone, and they'll figure the rest out later. Like, it's times have changed, honestly.
They have.
I feel partially responsible. I've always said I think everyone can make music. I think everyone.
Still holding on to that.
Part of that is I have a course, so I'm like, everyone can rap. And I do believe it. Doesn't mean everyone should release rap music, no. But I do believe everyone should express themselves through art. I just don't necessarily think everyone needs to try to sell it. I think that's the difference. And everyone is trying to sell it right now.
Yeah. But then it's like, if you can't, because I consider myself an artist, and I think there's a purity in that. But I also think that there's nothing wrong with selling your art, which is different than commerce. I think that, like, if you're able to create and if you're able to be an artist, I think there's nothing better than being able to sustain your life through your art.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, if you can't sustain your life through your art, and this has nothing to do with that, like how much you make. This just means your level of creativity.
Yeah.
Then I think that you shouldn't do it at all.
Really? Not even as like a hobby?
Yeah, but that's like, at home, like rapping.
No, and that's kind of what I mean. Like,
yeah,
I think we should all express ourselves some way. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it in a public-facing way.
Right.
Yeah. So I definitely think we agree on that.
Sing in the shower, rap in the shower. Rap while you cook.
But don't send me your song. Don't do that.
Don't put it out.
No, yeah.
Don't put it out, Because that's the other thing. You have people, and you can tell they're just throwing it on the social media, hoping folks hype them up and gas them up. Oh, you like this? Great. Here's more.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't do that. It's the big Dave Chappelle joke with, like, Juicy Smollier.
I just saw that clip earlier today.
Like, clearly we knew you were lying.
We knew. They're like, black people said that they were trying to call us homophobic. And it's like, no, every black person knew he was lying. Like, you left at 4 a.m. Okay, right. It's 16 degrees.
With the subway, right?
Walking for a Subway sandwich. We don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's when you withhold the likes. Mm-hmm. Say, oh, you didn't like that? No, because it's not good. Yeah. Like, don't gas anyone up. Don't give them a pity like. Don't pretend, because all that does is snowball. And that's kind of why we have this today. Why we have certain artists especially those Disney artists that have been in the machine for so long that they're able to release music, but they shouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, and we all know who we're talking about. There are a handful of them. You know, like, no, you shouldn't be doing that.
But honestly, in those situations, it's the machine behind them that's saying, look, statistically, you have this many eyes. If we get you with this songwriter and the song is at least decent, we can make this much. And that's the commerce side that you're talking about, where it's like, music is unfortunately a play right now. And, you know, I really do hate that as just someone who loves music. I really hate the quality, the average quality that's coming out right now. But it's, you know, it's just the nature, it's the human nature, really, where music is super popular. People have seen enough examples of subpar talent getting rich from it that now everyone just kind of sees it as a lick.
Yeah, I mean, but I think there's more to it than that, because this is the second year in a row bourbon sales are at an all-time low. Bourbon had, like, alcohol is an all-time low.
Yeah, people aren't drinking. Well, the new generation isn't drinking.
And that's weird to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's
just inside and depressed.
But, like, you're depressed and you're not drinking?
They're
you're not going outside. Like, that was it. Atlantic did an article a couple weeks ago talking about this is the century of loneliness. You know, and people aren't socializing. No, this is the century of folks not socializing.
Yeah.
And that's weird. So you're not drinking, you're not socializing. What are you doing?
Inside. Literally.
Doing what?
Playing games and scrolling. Like, I mean, it's the same reason why the birth rate is declining. Like, they're literally not, they're not having sex, they're not going out, they literally are just not interacting with other human beings in real life. Like, it's all solo-centric activities at home. They might find community, but the community is virtual.
Well, you know, it's funny. So I was walking the dog the other day, bumped into my neighbor, and this is like an AM conversation. Like, dude, I'm not even fully awake, and you're talking. So he has two sons. They're both in their early 20s. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, you know, one of my boys, he wants to get a vasectomy. I was like, what? I was like, already? Like, why are you thinking about that?
What's he so afraid of, man? Just don't have a kid.
Yeah, and I was like, that's wild that you're thinking about that in your 20s.
That's insane. I've never
like, not thinking about it like thinking about it like I'm in my 20s, but when I hit my 40s, 50s, like he's thinking about it now. Like, you know,
it's such a permanent decision.
It's wild.
Wow,
you know,
different time.
And I just think that at some point we just went off the rails.
Yeah.
You know, because everything. First of all, I mean, in my 20s, okay, yes, I knew of the word, but that wasn't.
It's not a real thought.
It's not a real thought.
It sounds like AI, honestly. Like, I can't imagine a real person saying that my age or younger.
Yeah, you know. And I mean, you're right. We're not reproducing. We're not drinking. We're not going out. Like that. It just sounds. And I'm assuming the suicide rate must be up.
It has to be.
I mean, like just, you know,
just from the other things we described.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
You know, but yet Mac Miller's still releasing albums.
I can't listen to that. I'm firmly against
I know you.
releases.
But like,
the artist never said the okay, like the final okay on the album. I get it. Someone close to him helped arrange it and put it together. As an artist, never do that for me, please. If it wasn't done, don't release it, or don't release it as a finished product.
That part, I don't know, but how long? This has been dead for over a decade, right?
At least like 6-7 years, yeah.
So that's kind of, I was like, wait a minute, like, because there was one album they released.
Yep. This isn't the first one.
Right after he died. This is the second album.
And that one was almost done. That one I kind of understand.
Yeah, so I don't understand, but yet I can't get a Prince album. You know what I mean?
Because his estate is like, they know him, and they're like, he would haunt us if we dropped the Prince album. And more estates should be like that, but you never know. I'm not in his close circle, so maybe Mac wanted that. I can't imagine it, but I don't know.
I think that as artists now, they're definitely making moves that we would never expect them to make. I.e., Prince. Snoop performing, for the inauguration weekend.
That money talks.
But have you ever thought about it? Like, what is the price tag for your soul?
Oh, it's expensive. It's real expensive.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't got nearly as much money as he does.
Right.
But also, I think certain people get to a certain level and the price might actually go lower because now they're just thinking, I don't know, I feel like when you've seen too much, you start to realize that everyone does it and you're better off just fending for yourself or looking after yourself. So because I remember Snoop said, was it 4 years ago or 8, I guess?
It was when it was the first
2016,
term.
yeah.
It was the first term.
He said, if you essentially are there at the inauguration, whatever, perform for Donald Trump, you're a sellout, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And then,
but
times changed.
But what changed?
He
what
pardoned Kodak.
For him? He said what?
He pardoned Kodak. Life is different now.
What's happening to our celebrities? Not even our celebrities. What's happening to people to make them these dramatic shifts? Because we're both adults. We're not kids anymore.
Yeah.
So a lot of those younger ideas that we had have kind of drifted away. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, as we get older, our shifts are more micro.
Yeah.
But that's a massive shift in 8, almost in 10 years. Mm-hmm. What happened to that dude? Because it can't be bread. Because at this point, assuming, the loan sharks weren't after him, you have to be talking about millions of dollars.
It could be. It really could be that much. Like, you got to remember, Elon Musk alone, obviously richest man on earth, gave the Trump campaign $175 million that we know of.
Right.
That is probably nothing for him to raise, $5 million to give to Snoop, because they understand the need for the optics of black approval for the culture. I think what it is when Trump first came out in 2016, it was popular that, oh, this guy's off. He's off his rocker, like.
Right.
But now that he's won again,
right, and
all his homies won with him, and they got all 3 branches, they got the Supreme Court. How long are you gonna choose to not be with the winning team? I think some people, it really comes down to, do I want to keep being against him, or do I want to join this and make money with him? Because clearly, me going against him and everyone saying they was against him didn't work. It didn't.
I mean, but you're saying that's a heavy statement, though.
It is, and it might not be that, but I just feel like there's an element to winning and making money with him that this goes back to.
So, Monday was a massive day because not only was it the inauguration, but it was also MLK's birthday.
It was.
So I decided to watch Selma in honor of it. And it's not a great movie as far as movies go, but I just kind of leaned into the storyline, and you can't help but ask the huge question, what happened to black celebrities in America? Because here's the other thing, and I got into this interesting argument with a buddy of mine. So, you had Snoop, you had Nelly, you had Rick Ross, you had Soulja Boy. Mm-hmm. And, in my humble opinion, that's not A-list quality black celeb across the board. And even if you can include the whites, Carrie Underwood, Billy Ray Cyrus, some other country.
Well, for an A-lister, it's career suicide still, I think.
But okay, but you're talking about, so this is the President of the United States. So this is like, upper echelon as far as power goes.
Yeah, power, yeah.
Yeah.
Respect, not so much anymore.
No, because I don't consider any of those folks A-list.
Yeah, no.
And so, because they weren't A-list, there's still room to say no.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I'm assuming, did say no.
Had to have.
So why did those folks say yes? But then also, I started thinking about, he said, well, who do you consider A-list black entertainer? And I really had a hard time thinking about who's A-list celebrity now.
Really? Kendrick, Jay-Z, Beyonce.
I kept going back to Beyonce. I think
music.
that my problem with Jay now is I keep coming back to age.
Yeah, he
doesn't feel like he hasn't released, and not so much age, but he just also hasn't released.
Yeah, he's a bit inactive.
Yeah,
Tyler the Creator.
I mean, which is an interesting conversation because I do think Tyler is great, but when you think about the Michael Jacksons, the Princes,
that's higher than A-list though. Where that oxygen gets real, like, we don't have anyone like that anymore. I don't even think, no one's falling out for any of our black celebrities anymore. Oh, I don't think that level of fame will ever be reached though again. Because a part of that, in my opinion, comes down to inaccess, like lack of access. And we see everything about most people these days. Beyonce and Kendrick, I think, are two A-listers who have something close to that because they are private people, Kendrick especially. And so there's this mystique around them. Like if Frank Ocean, if he released more music, he could also be on that same tier. But he's just so inactive. I think his music is good enough, but his brand isn't, because he is so unwilling to do the things that he doesn't want to do to be in that same conversation. See, I really do. Now, granted, you incorporate social media, and that dilutes the conversation a great deal. But I also read about, there's some folks that went to see Taylor Swift in concert like 8, 10, 12 times, which is that Michael Jackson level of fandom. You can't help but ignore something. There's something that happened, whether it's deliberate or not, that diluted the black celebrity. I don't know, because I think Beyonce's right there. I think she's on the same exact level. Even if she is, that's one person. Well, how many Michael Jacksons were there when Michael Jackson was Michael Jackson? I mean, you still had. You had Michael Jackson. You had Prince. You had Prince, which was still. I mean, record-wise, there's no comparison between Michael Jackson and Prince record sales. Yeah. But then during that time, even the folks under them, your Madonnas, your brief moment of, not Boy George Michael. You had, and you're right, there was a mystique, but it's also just too many players now. Yeah, that's true. It's so hard to rise to the top when there's a new superstar every 3 months. And they gotta burn out first before people go back. Oh yeah, no, they weren't as good as, Kendrick or Beyonce. What were we thinking? That's so interesting though, that you put Kendrick in that Beyonce category. I think he's up there. Honestly, I think Drake usually is in that conversation. I don't even. And he's just having a bad moment right now, so it's tough to put him there because his name isn't necessarily equated with good right now.
Nah, I know.
But in terms of fame, for me, if you are known by one name, you're already in a different level. But in terms of record sales, actually, no one touches Drake right now, including Beyonce, Adele, etc. He's completely alone.
Which is crazy.
Completely
that lets you
alone.
know how far we've come. Because I mean, that's it. Is it record sales, or that also incorporating streaming?
It does.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's people don't buy physicals really.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, so you're like, Drake is the modern or the present day Michael Jackson.
I would never say that. But
I know, right?
He is the biggest celebrity we have in music. Yeah, I think.
That's crazy. I don't know how I feel about that.
Numbers don't lie, man. I don't.
But
know
clearly they do lie.
I don't think so.
They
because if you go to, I mean, if you go to like, and I had a few friends make this argument. If you go to like a Drake night, every single person there.
What is a Drake night?
It's where the DJ will just play his greatest hits. The average person knows most of Drake hits.
Catalog is tight.
You can't argue with that. And
Catalog
it's
is tight.
There's not many people who can do that and have that many like popping hits that like people remember growing up on, people know the words to, and you don't realize how many there are until you go to something like that.
But you know, oh gosh, and we talked about this a while back, but whenever I think about tight catalogs, right under Drake, legitimately under Drake, and you can't say anyone, R. Kelly. But yet, R. Kelly got removed from the history books. Like, he does not exist anymore.
He was diddly. It's hard.
I mean, but that catalog...
Untouchable, of course. It's a different era, though. Like I said, we know too much, so it unfortunately worked against him.